Open it up.
Scott, that was an incredible night of fights filled with amazing comebacks, a massive retirement, and Benson Henderson's showing that he's still got it at a world level. What do you make of the whole card?
I think it was really exciting. I think that the fights really delivered tonight, and the crowd, again, was spectacular. It's one of my favorite places to go to watch a fight, and I think we broke some attendance records today. I think this is the largest crowd to ever watch a Bellator fight here in Dublin. So we're excited. I think you saw a lot of the young prospects coming up. I think SBG is doing a great job. They have such a great system here of developing fighters, and we're going to continue working with John and come back in February next year.
Obviously, the fight was kind of set up for a massive potential win for Peter Queally in front of his home crowd. Benson causing the upset with that one. Was that a surprise to you in terms of how that fight played out?
No, not at all, because when you have two fighters at that level, anything can happen. You know how MMA is, anything can happen. And Benson, again, showed, like you said, he's still got a lot of gas in the tank. And I'm excited about what we can do for him next. No, listen, Peter's a great fighter too, and wasn't his night, but I know he'll be back.
Just one more thing for me, I have to ask two things. The rumours of Fedor and Anderson Silva in a potential Japan fight. Could that realistically happen from your perspective?
So that was what Ariel was saying, hey, I have this premonition or this dream about this fight happening, and I'm like, well, the truth is we've already offered that fight to Anderson, and it wasn't going to be in Japan, it was going to be in the U.S. somewhere. We were looking at New York or L.A., but Anderson wanted to box. This was when he came off the boxing fight in the Middle East. So we haven't really talked to him. I know he's got a big fight coming up here at the end of October with Jake on Showtime pay-per-view. So let's see what happens. And would I like to put those two guys together at some point? Absolutely. I think that'd be a lot of fun. That's why we reached out. You got two goats, one a little lighter than the other. I think weight would be an issue, but if we could work that out, that would be an amazing fight.
And last one, I'm sure you're going to get asked about this one quite a lot. Obviously, Nate Diaz is a free agent. You've been linked with him. Is that someone you're going to be gunning for?
Well, here's the thing is that, my guys reached out to the management, and the management came back and said, look, he still has an exclusive negotiation period. And so, let's see how that plays out.
Hi, Scott. Just two quick ones for me. First and foremost, I guess, Melvin Anoff retired tonight after a tough fight in the end for him. I wonder if you just have a few words for him about his career and his impact on mixed martial arts.
Melvin he has a very special place in my heart, because that guy his fighting style has always been no fear and go, and either he takes them out or he gets taken out. He is a warrior, and so I followed his career. I first saw Melvin fight in 2006 in K1. Didn't work out for him that night. He fought Ray Seffo. Ray looked like he was 225. Melvin looked like he was 185. But he went there and swung until it didn't work out for him. And I've promoted his career. I followed his career. I've been a fan. I just love the way he brings it and his attitude. And he's I consider him a friend and his family. We're all we worked together for many years. I think it was time for him to put down the gloves, and which I'm glad he did. And now he can go into retirement and train and teach and do other projects that he wants to do.
And just one final one for me. Two of the light heavyweights tonight, obviously Yoel was one, and Carl Moore was another. He expressed an interest in fighting Yoel. Is that, I know you probably don't matchmake, literally minutes after the event ended, but is that something right off the bat that just sounds potentially interesting to you?
Well, I tell you, that was a great fight. Carl the opponent was a very good opponent and very capable. And originally I thought that fight could go either way. It worked out, but when I think about matchmaking for the future in that division, I really think about just going back to my team. Let's reshuffle the deck. Let's see what we can put together for him. Title shot right away? Maybe not. I'm not sure if he's even where he's ranked in the top 10. So we're going to have to figure that out. And same thing with Yoel. I mean, Yoel wants to fight at 185, and he hasn't fought for 180 with us at 185 yet. But he looked good tonight. He looked very calm, very composed. Did a lot of damage, and he looked very good. So we'll see.
Scott, where would you like to see Yoel Romero fight next? 185 or 205?
That's something. It's going to be a decision that he's going to have to make. To me, I feel like 205 is a good weight class. He looked at him. He just looks in shape. He looks calm. He looks just, he's a beast. So I think he looks good at 205. But if he really wants to cut and make the weight, that's going to be up to him, and then we'll figure out with his management, who was here today, and they've already started, talking in my ear about making the 185 run. And if he's really serious about it, we would definitely consider it.
It seemed like Benson was calling out the winner of Usman Nurmagomedov and Patricky Pitbull. Do you see him as the next title contender after that fight happens?
I definitely think he's right up there now. I think he was ranked number 3 or 4 before the fight tonight, so I think his stock went up a little bit. The fight that's going to happen in Chicago with Usman and Pitbull, that's going to be the championship fight. So let's see how that fight plays out, and then we'll decide. But I tell you, it's when I look at this 155-pound weight class, it's getting stacked, and it's just growing and growing and growing. And I think we have some real great talent. And when I think of Masayev, and I think of Usman, and I think of Pitbull, I think of Benson, I think so we got a great division. It might be our tournament next year that we'll put together.
Pedro Carvalho had a great win over Mads Burnell tonight. He's asking for the winner of Jeremy Kennedy and Aaron Pico. Is that a matchup that you'd like to make?
I mean, it's definitely a consideration. Like I said, when these fights happen, I really like to go back and sit down with my team and figure out what's the best move and what fights we put together. But if you look at the rankings, sometimes they speak for themselves. I mean, what I mean by that is when we come back in next Monday, or the reporters will have their thoughts on the rankings, and then we'll go right down the list and see if it makes sense, and maybe 6 fights 5 fights 4, 4 fights 3, 2 fights 1, so we're going to work our way up, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, Brett Johns had another very dominant performance. His last one out against Kirsha Kakarov was very dominant, and again tonight. His team, though, seemed to be a little unhappy with the attention that they're receiving from Bellator. How do you see Brett fitting into the puzzle of the bantamweight division?
Well, you know what? That's something that I could see why somebody would feel that way, especially in the middle of this tournament, right? I mean, we're in the middle of a great bantamweight division tournament, and it's going to be hard for somebody to get a little bit of shine on them until this tournament's over, because that's the focus of the bantamweight tournament right now, or that bantamweight division. Mm-hmm.
Scott, who do you think is a person that emerged from this card or maybe the card before that could be the next headliner for Bellator in Ireland? Brian Moore maybe a name after tonight. His reaction every time he comes out in Ireland was huge. Got another huge win and a great performance tonight. Called out Higo. Is that a possible main event next February?
It's definitely a possibility, and right now it's a little bit premature to figure out who's going to be fighting next February. But I think we've always delivered great cards here, and I think that we'll bring back another amazing fight card, and that's definitely a possibility.
Is there any update on James Gallagher? Obviously, he was supposed to fight in this card and it didn't happen. Any update on what is going to be happening with James next?
No, you know what? I know he's been injured a lot, and I know he had a baby, and there's a lot of things going on in his personal life. So we'll figure that out. But my goal really is to get James back into the cage as soon as possible.
Yoel Romero had a huge reaction from the Irish crowd here tonight. Have you had any other names kind of blowing up your phone asking you to fight on the next Dublin card?
I haven't checked my phone yet, but I'll let you know in 30 minutes. No, but listen, Yoel Romero is loved everywhere. When he fought in Paris, they loved him. They fought here, they loved him. He's just got that charisma, and he's having a great time out there. He dances all the way to the cage. I mean, he's a star, and that's just how I feel. It's like he's just got that little X factor that not everybody has.
You put the hammer down on Dylan Dennis's boxing career during the week. Is he a possibility that we could see here in February?
Listen, Dylan is a kid we had a lot of high hopes for. He's super talented, ground jiu-jitsu, fighter. But he's got to stay active, and he's got to want to come back. And he calls me, he wants to come back, and then sometimes I don't hear from him for months. So if he's really serious about coming back, we'll definitely have a spot for him, and we'll make an opportunity for him.
Hey, hell of a card tonight. What do you say to the fans who are calling for it to be more than once every 6 months? They want it every month now. Would you come back here more often?
You know what? That might be rare. That might be tough. But one of the things we talked about was, creating a challenger series here in Ireland, and maybe doing that once a year. But I think that twice a year to put on fights of this magnitude. Listen, it's a great place to do fights, and the fans are amazing, and the fighters are great, and we have such a great time. But we do have a lot of commitments, in different territories that we have to fulfill as well.
Scott, there were a couple of chants tonight about the Queen's passing recently. Did the broadcaster in the UK get onto you about any of that stuff they heard on the broadcast?
I didn't hear anything about that.
I also wanted to ask as well, you were asked about Dylan there earlier. Over the last couple of days, did any of those people involved with those internet celebrities get in touch with you?
No, the first I heard about that was when we had the conversation the other day, and And I have not heard anything from their management or the promoters about the boxing fight. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, sorry.
There were fighters on the card there tonight that didn't think that they performed to the standard that they expected, even though they came away with wins. I'd be interested to know of the guys lower down on the card, for example, Kenny, Dara, Kelly, what you think of those guys' first impression and how you see, as you move forward, how you want to bring in more fighters like that coming out of Ireland.
You know what? Unfortunately, I missed a couple of the fight cards because usually I watch it in my room and as the fights are, but I didn't have. I couldn't get on with my phone, so I missed a couple of fights. So I'll have to go back and look at the replay. But you know how fights are. Sometimes the fighter goes out there and has a great day. Sometimes they don't. And so to them, if they're disappointed but they got the win, hey, good for them. Is just take the win and move forward. That would be my thoughts on that. Thanks, guys.